crap-a-lapping. We're gonna start off with some Moonlighter, and then maybe some Apex later. We shall see. That's not gonna work. I need to figure out a better mount for my mic also. Another day. Another day, another problem. Why is Facebook not loading up my... Am I gonna do this to me, Facebook? Ah, cool. Come on in and buy my wares, people. I'm also eating some guacamole chips. Oh no. $175 for whatever that is too much. I forget what it is. Okay, cool. I don't have anything in my inventory. Golem Core, that seemed to sell. What did that sell for? 100 crowns? Oh, okay. Got the price in a little bit. Maybe someone will buy it now. Now it's cheaper. Oh, somebody's happy about the stone. Oh, nice. That blind sold. And put some more of those on. What is this? Redstone, teeth stone, rich jelly. Let's do some rich jelly. Alright. Let's see how this stuff sells. Make me some money to venture to pay for my excursions in the dungeons. No, I don't want to have two of the same thing. Let's do that. Okay, good enough. I'll take the MSRP for it. Buy stuff, buy all my stuff. I need to make a fortune. You're sad about it, but you're gonna buy it. What? Let's see what that'll get me. She bought those vines. Business is good. I like that. Sometimes this stuff just sits on the table forever. Why is Facebook not streaming? What's up, babe?
Is the remote for him in there?
Yeah. Hey, you wanna crack the door? Okay. Alright, so Whitestone. Big bucks column core. $100 a piece. Damn. Yeah. What thing? I don't know what thing you're talking about. Oh yeah, I want to bring that in here. I don't need it. You can just put it somewhere because Chip's being an ass now. Yeah, you being an ass now, Chippies. Time to go on adventures. Alright, so. Fine golem. I don't know what any of that is. Oh, you know what? Let me see if there's potions and stuff. I did finance his shop. How would they have a discount? Why would I spend $2,000 to then sell things at a discount? Wouldn't have brute force game. Wouldn't have to find potion enchantments for that. Shop with morning. Visitors. Don't have enough. Finance them to set up shop. I mean, I'm paying for it. They should like give me 2% of whatever. Just give me something back in my investment. I got none of the stuff to make any of this stuff. Now I can switch up my weapons. I'll be back, Andre. Did you bring me anything mysterious? No. I did, but you gotta buy it from me in my shop during the daytime, girl. I ain't giving none now for free. I love guacamole, by the way. What a town. What a town. The wooden hat. Hey there. I'm doing swell. How are you? Won't you craft me some magnificent beer, lady? That's 2. How much money do I have? I have 15 23s. I buy 4 of these. Yeah, I'll do that. Okay, okay. I will bring you back cool stuff, Maury. As long as you promise me that I am not the father. You know what I mean? Got the results of DNA test, and you're not the father. Oh, hey. Tell me a story, old man. Give me a quest. What would you like to talk about? Dungeons closed. Ah, something of much contention. They were not closed. Maybe we never have fun. Such despair. There, that's it, bud. It's called Moonlighter. I go. The story is, parents owned a shop. Then they got old and died, and I always went to go on adventures. I eventually go on adventures after they die. And I go in these dungeons and I collect stuff, take it back, sell it at the shop that they passed down to me. Forget the buttons though. So I have a shield. Okay. No, let me. Oh, are you kidding me? Oh. What is this? Whoa. I don't have any weapons. What? I just had a broom? Where'd my weapons go? Am I supposed to fight them off with a broom? my turn. Okay. Gimme. Oh yeah, give me that. Give me this. Oh, so the room's got some good reach on it. Okay. Gotta go down. Oh! How do I use my potions? I just bought health potions. I have no idea how to use them. But you know what? This guacamole will help me. I'm sure it will. I've never seen this. Oh, I'm losing that stuff. This is tough for being like a whatchamacallit. Every time you go into dungeons are randomly generated, so no, get off me. This is a healing pool. I remember that from the only time I played this. Healing up with some guacamole. Give me all that. Oh, gone cores. I can get like $100 a piece for those things. Definitely gotta be careful and not die now. Let me figure out how to use my... Quick equip. Ah, they weren't freaking equipped. Top, bottom of bag. I don't know what that means. Alright. Let's move on. Oh, boss fight. Yeah. How do I use the... No, how do I... Oh my goodness. Just lost all of that shit. How do I lose? It's gotta be a D-pad button. I don't know. I have no idea how to use potions. Hopefully I still have them. Yep. Oh. Right trigger, it's up at the top. Now I see it. What? What, I can't hurt this thing? Ton of money. Knock these guys out of the way. No, 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 get off me, 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 get off me. There we go. Give me that rich gem. Need that rich jelly, brah. Gimme. Alright, here we go. Oh, another. Everything. Oh boy, was I about to be sad. Yes, heal me. Heal me. Kill me for free. Okay. Oh, I got one spot. I'm gonna go back to town, sell my stuff. Not worth risking losing all of it to gain one more thing. You know what I mean? Ain't worth it, bruh. And I got me a orange vanilla Coca-Cola. Nothing as refreshing as a Coca-Cola sponsorship. We gonna make a fortune today. We getting rich today, bruh. Buy that column core. Ain't happy about it. Happy about spending 100. So let's make it 120. Let's see if they're happy about paying 120 for that. Okay, 120 is too high. I should have went and did some crafting first. Power crystal, gotta be worth 45 francs, right? Oh yeah, happy about spending that. Loving these golem cores, man. Let's try to get as much out of this as possible. Take that off. See how much we get from those foundry rests. Let's see if I only had one before and sold it for 50. They were happy to pay it. Sold it immediately too. Yep, foundry rest sold. Put that back there. Can I get 100 for that? More golem cores. Alright, come by my foundry rest, people. Get them while they're hot. Out off the foundry presses. $100 a piece. $100 a piece. And they're happy to pay. Look at them. Probably could have got more for them. Yeah.
You need lunch for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Salad okay?
Yeah, salad's great. Everything okay?
Yeah, I just gotta go to bed and
What time you want to get up tomorrow? Okay. Oh, that's the end of the day. Move that over. Actually, you know what? Let me see what I can craft. I don't know what that middle thing is. Haven't found it yet. I had the foundry rest and I got rid of them. like an idiot, I sold all my foundry rest. Could have had a crossbow or had a bow and arrow. Ooga booga. Let's see, maybe enchantments. Ah. More of those things I sold. I'm sick of these chips breaking. The sign. Here we go. Last dungeon. Oh, I'm an idiot. I got a bag full of shit. Let me go empty this. This has been my last dungeon run. I know it's been a super short stream, but I'm pretty tired, and it's gonna be a long day tomorrow. Now let's get to the dungeon running. Run dungeons. Oh jeez. Power control, and I pulled my headset out of it. Enter. Alright. Nope. Oh, I'm dropping everything. I just dropped my chip. Luckily there wasn't guacamole on it yet. These chips fucking break. Alright, that's it. No more chips and guacamole for me. kind of heal up a bit. Oh, wait. Oh, you see that fancy ass footwork? I'm like, stick and move, stick and move, stick and move. Excuse me. Oh, what's all this fancy shit? So, I was attacked by a moving rock today. Can you imagine a rock that moves? I did what any sensible person would do in a situation. And smacked it right back. It shattered upon the ground, leaving behind a stone heart. Core, as we would come to call it. It's one of the many unique treasures that can only be found in this dungeon. Dropped by guard. Unique to only this dungeon. I have to say, each of these dungeons have a very particular environment, a culture, all its own. Can't do nothing. Okay. We'll go to the north. Oh. There we go. All you guys dying. Crush, crush, crush. No more doors. Oh. Doing shit. Alright, go back up. Okay. Okay, take that. Take that. Alright. Something cool. Wow, take it. Oh boy. Time to beat this column today. Oh, I'll beat that mother. beat him. I beat that mother. I beat that mother. I beat him. I beat him. I beat that mother. I beat that mother. I beat him. I beat him. Ooh, what is this? Golem Dungeon 2. This is one of the strange devices the creature dropped when he fled. This one's rich. Actually, almost quite literally rich. For every item you place into this device, gold of some perceived value drops out. It's great if you need to use your pendant in a pinch. Looks like a mirror, so am I just gonna call it the mirror? Keeping it simple. I do wonder though, where do the treasures dropped inside go? Am I getting the best deal here? Okay. I wasn't paying attention. No idea what I got for them. Let's continue north. I didn't realize I was so close to death. Alright, that's it for me. I am donezo with the funzo. Today was an early day. I had to be in at 7. Tomorrow I gotta be in at 8. But yeah, I am tired. So, and Facebook wasn't working either. So, I want to say thank you to everybody who came out. I know it was a short stream. But I do appreciate it. Everybody that comes out, especially Zeddy, comes out consistently. And even if it's just chat a little bit. Appreciate you, buddy. But yeah, so thank you to everybody that did come out. Whether it was Facebook, Twitch, Mixer, YouTube, whether it was 30 seconds, a minute, or 5 minutes, an hour, whatever. I appreciate it. You decided that what I'm doing is important enough to spend some amount of time focusing on, and I really do appreciate that. You could be doing anything, and you chose to spend some time with me, so thank you very much. Tomorrow is Friday. I'll be back on tomorrow night with some free play Friday, even though it's been like free play every day this week. The days I streamed anyway. Maybe I'll do an art stream. Maybe me and the girlfriend will paint or something. I don't know. I gotta set up. That's the whole ordeal. I also gotta finish the bookcase. Maybe I'll do that. I'll figure out how to take the camera out to the garage and I'll live stream building the bookcase for my sister-in-law. So do something cool, crazy, and creative. But yeah, so thank you for coming out. I really do appreciate those who didn't come out. Go fuck